This problem is about computing the derivative and using the chain rule. Compute f prime of pi over 2 when f of x is equal to the square root of cosine of x plus 1. A nice technique to use when computing derivatives of functions that involve the square root is to rewrite the square root as a power. This is the original function, and remember, whenever you see a square root, that's the same thing as raising the inside to the 1/2 power. The key thing to notice about our function f is that there's a composition of functions. That means we'll need to use the chain rule. We have the composition of the function cosine of x plus 1 with the other function raising something to the 1/2 power. The inside function is cosine of x plus 1, and the outside function is raising something to the 1/2 power. Let's look carefully at our function and decide which rules of differentiation we will need. Here, we need the power rule. Here, we need the chain rule. And here, we need the cosine rule. Now that we know which rules to use, let's compute f prime of x. Remember what the chain rule says. You need to take the derivative of the outside, evaluate it the inside, and multiply by the derivative of the inside. This is the outside function. This is the inside. We use the power rule to take the derivative of the outside function. Then the chain rule says we have to multiply by the derivative of the inside. Now we need to evaluate the derivative of this term. For that we use the rule for cosine. The derivative of cosine is minus sine. Then we collect all the terms and rewrite the power as a square root. We have finished computing the derivative, f prime of x. Now, all that remains to do is plug in x equals pi over 2 and evaluate. We plug in pi over 2 for x to get this expression. Then we evaluate. Sine of pi over 2 is 1, and cosine of pi over 2 is 0. This simplifies to our final answer, f prime of pi over 2 is negative 1/2. Let's do a quick recap. The first step was to identify which rules of differentiation we would need. We needed the chain rule, the power rule, and the cosine rule. Next, we computed the derivative. We found out that f prime of x is minus sine of x all divided by 2 square root cosine x plus 1. To conclude, all that needed to be done was to plug in x equals pi over 2 and evaluate.